Hello and welcome to 2CrazyMedia. I'm Matthew and welcome to another news roundup. This is where I kind of go over the biggest news in video games that you need to know about that happened this past week. Today is March 1st, 2026 as of recording, and it has been a pretty busy week for video games news and just news in general. Sort of the first half of the week was very much a lot of big news on like PlayStation stuff and just a lot of other news that I'll talk about. And then the second half of the week, while not as much news, we instead had a lot of Resident Evil Requiem. That's right, Resident Evil Requiem has released just a few days ago on Friday technically. And while this is not my review, I will have my review coming this upcoming Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. I will have a full breakdown, full review on it, kind of talking about my thoughts, my pros, my cons, and all that. It's going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't finished the game yet, or you're still playing through and you haven't even played it yet, but you don't want to see any spoilers, don't worry. My review on Tuesday will be fully spoiler-free. I'm just going to kind of go over my initial thoughts on the game because I've already finished it. I finished it as of recording this. I finished it last night. I have yet to start my second playthrough yet, but I will be doing that later tonight after recording this. And I don't want to spoil it yet, but stay tuned for the video on Tuesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I am so excited to finally talk about that game after finishing it just last night. So yeah, so that's kind of been this week. It kind of feels like the week before Resident Evil and the week after Resident Evil, which is interesting since everyone is talking about it, everyone is playing it. That's all I've been doing this weekend, has just been playing Resident Evil. That's all I've been doing. But it's time we get to the news. We have honestly a good amount of news stories to go over, and so how about we just jump straight into it with our first news story. And that is, Bluepoint wanted to make a Bloodborne remake, but FromSoft had turned it down. This is coming from Andy Robinson over at VGC. Bluepoint reportedly had a Bloodborne remake pitch rejected by FromSoft. PlayStation's Bluepoint studio reportedly pitched a remake of FromSoftware's Bloodborne before their platform holder made the decision to shut the developer down last month. That's according to a new report from Bloomberg, which claims that Bluepoint pitched a Bloodborne remake early last year, but that the original developer FromSoftware blocked the proposal. Although PlayStation owns the Bloodborne IP, former exec Shuhei Yoshida has previously shared a theory about why a remaster or modern platformer ports haven't materialized. Speaking in an interview with KindaFunny Games last year, Yoshida said he thought FromSoftware president Hidetaka Miyazaki was interested in remaking the game himself in the future and doesn't want anyone else to touch it. Sony would likely respect Miyazaki's wishes, Yoshida said. Bloodborne has always been the most asked for thing, and people wonder why we haven't really done anything, not even an update, or remake or remaster, which should be easy. We're known for doing so many remasters. Some people get frustrated, he told KindaFunny. Alrighty, so pretty interesting. I thought this was this news story came out a few days ago, and I thought this was one of the more interesting news stories I've heard in a while. For the longest time, everyone has been asking for a Bloodborne remake. That is like the big thing everyone wants. When is Bloodborne being remade? When is it going to be remastered, a remake, an update, just anything? People love Bloodborne. For a lot of people, it is their favorite FromSoftware game. For a lot of people, it's a lot of their favorite games. Just Bloodborne is so well beloved. I've even played it, and I really do like Bloodborne as well. It's one of my favorite FromSoft games I've played. And so that's kind of always been the question. And obviously the one studio everyone kind of looked to at Sony is Bluepoint. They're known for remaking and remastering some games. They've done Demon's Souls, which is another FromSoft title, and more. And so they were kind of known as the remake studio at PlayStation. And when they were closed last week, which we reported on in the last news video, we kind of discussed how their latest project they were working on that got canceled was the God of War live action, which is a big reason why they got shut down. But we were like, oh man, this sucks, because we would have definitely seen in their future a Bloodborne remake, and now we know that what they were trying to do, that they had pitched it to Sony. Sony had said yes, but kind of like what Shuhei Yoshida said a while back ago, FromSoftware themselves, they want to do it. I guess they were probably little maybe they didn't like some of the things that Bluepoint did with Demon Souls. We're like, hey, if we're gonna remake the game, we want to do it ourselves. But so they just wouldn't let them do it, and that just kind of sucks. I totally get where FromSoftware is coming from. That is their game, although Sony holds like the rights and stuff to Bloodborne. That still is like FromSoftware's game. They still made it, so I totally understand where Miyazaki's coming from, and I am glad that Sony has respected that decision and has not gone off and said, hey, well, we don't care, we still own the IP, let's make it. It does suck what happened to Bluepoint. We talked about it last week, just how sad the whole story is and how great of a studio Bluepoint was, and it sucks that they were put to just making a God of War live action game and got shut down because it just got canceled, and then they kept trying to come up with other maybe stuff they can make, and everything got turned down. So sadly they got shut down because of that, because they just couldn't find a project to work on, and that really does suck. It's super sad, and it would have been so cool if they did a Bloodborne remake. I totally believe this all sounds totally true and totally happened. Like, it totally sucks, because that would have been such a slam dunk. A Bloodborne remake would have been massive. It would have been insane. People would freak out. It would sell so much. But sadly, I think probably FromSoft wants to do that themselves. Who knows if they will ever actually get to that. FromSoft is so busy making original IP and new IP, and it seems like Miyazaki, if he were to either have the choice of making a Bloodborne remake or a new IP, like an Elden Ring or something like that, I think he would choose the new IP. So will we ever get a Bloodborne remake? I don't know. It seems less likely now that we know that FromSoft is the only studio that can work on it. And with them being so busy with everything else, who knows? They could have like a smaller studio work on it, but we'll have to find out. Do I think we're going to get a Bloodborne remake anytime soon? Maybe I could see in the next 5 years, but not in the next like 2 or 3 years. I'm thinking more like 5 years if FromSoft really feels like it, but who knows? It's just totally up in the air. But yeah, alrighty, let's move on to the next story, and this story also has to do with PlayStation. So, PlayStation might be going away from PC ports. This is coming from Blair Marnell over at GameSpot. Sony may be drastically shifting its PC strategy. After an initial discourse from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, 2 prominent leakers have backed his account that Sony could be shifting away from releasing single-player titles on PC. According to Schreier, that means that upcoming games like Marvel's Wolverine or any future God of War sequels may not come to PC at all. Sneakers SO and Nate the Hate have both offered their corroboration to comments Schreier made on the Triple Click podcast. Schreier stressed his belief that Sony's live service games like Helldivers 2 would continue to be on PC, largely because those titles are so dependent on building a large player base. But he suggested that Sony may be backing away from putting their exclusive console stuff like traditional single-player stuff on PC. Schreier added that he doesn't think Sony reverting to console only for single-player games would be a big deal because the titles weren't successful on PC as they were on PS5. He also noted that Sony hasn't been launching its AAA titles day and date with PC and wouldn't suffer many consequences from pulling back on its PC releases. So yeah, this is another one that was reported on earlier this week, and this was pretty interesting. That I feel like this has kind of been a thing that's been happening for a few years now, where Sony keeps putting out their exclusive games on PC. We saw this with Helldiver, with Spider-Man 1 and 2, with Ghost of Tsushima, with God of War, Days Gone, Last of Us Part 2 and Part 1, I believe, as well. Those games all sold pretty well, but it's reported that some of the later PC releases, like Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, just didn't do as well. They didn't sell as much, and that just shows that the demand isn't as there on PC. And that makes sense, and that totally makes sense then if PlayStation is going to stop releasing it. I think they've realized that they're probably losing more money, and it's probably a net negative if they can just use these titles that aren't selling as well on PC and just have them exclusive to PlayStation again, and they sort of act as like system sellers, because if you're putting it on PC, they're no longer really system sellers, because unless you only have an Xbox and don't have a PC or a PlayStation, then you're going to go out. But if you have a PC it's no longer a system seller because you can just wait a few months and play it on PC when it comes out. So I think this does make sense. I think this is probably a smart move from Sony. This may suck for a lot of people on PC who have been looking forward to some upcoming games like Wolverine. Like, I don't think Wolverine is probably going to come to PC. I could see, since they're probably already working on it, games like Ghost of Yotei and also Sorrows come to PC at a later date after launch, but I think probably not with... I think Sorrows will probably be the last Sony first-party game to come to PC, for a while at least. I don't think we're going to see Wolverine or any PlayStation game after that. Like Jason Schreier had said, obviously some of their bigger games, like a lot of their live service titles that they want bigger player counts, I can see that still coming to PC. So Marathon, Helldivers 2, all those projects, Horizon, the new Horizon Hunters Gathering, those all very likely either already on PC or will come to PC. But I think for a lot of their single player games after Sorrows, probably not, and it just makes sense. I think it does suck. I think another kind of part of that kind of makes sense is that all the reports that the next Xbox console is going to be a more PC focused thing where you can play Steam and have the Steam launcher on the next gen Xbox. Also kind of maybe Sony's thinking, hey, we don't want people on their Xbox to go on Steam and play PlayStation games because the PlayStation games are all on Steam. So that makes sense as well, since Sony also doesn't want to put their games on Xbox. If they drop their new games on PC, then Xbox players on the next gen Xbox, if the rumors are true and it is a PC focused console, that makes sense. And that's also another part of it, why they are probably moving away from their PC strategy. I think it worked for the first few years of it, but it kind of started to fall down. And honestly, I don't really know why it started to fall down, but it just did. And so that makes sense. In terms of maybe if Sony will ever bring games back to PC or any other consoles, it's going to be a toss-up. It really just is does the game need a large player base? Is it single player? Is it multiplayer? I think most single player games, probably not. Like Wolverine and whatever, any God of War game, Intergalactic probably will not come to PC at all, maybe. While I can see upcoming, like if Fair Games is still coming out, and Horizon Hunters Gathering, those will all, and also 4Loop, those probably will all come to PC, as those will come to PC. So it's just always going to be a toss-up of what will and what won't come to PC, but it's going to be interesting to sort of see PlayStation's strategy moving forward, even outside of just their PC strategy, with sort of they're in this weird moment where they're getting a lot of flack for stuff like shutting down Bluepoint and moving too far into their failed live service route that has just not worked well for them the past few years. This upcoming week, we're getting Marathon. That's coming this upcoming weekend. That's going to be a big title. I'm going to be talking later on this video, sort of towards the end, about my thoughts on the Marathon server slam, which I played out a little bit on Thursday before Resident Evil. Gotten in a few matches, a few rounds, and kind of I have some thoughts on it. But they have that coming up, which is going to be a make or break it move for Sony, and just a lot of other stuff. So it'll be interesting to see sort of their strategy going forward. But that is going to be all for this story. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to keep going with a lot of PlayStation news. I promise we only have a few more PlayStation stories left for now, and then we're going to move over to outside of PlayStation. But the next story, Wolverine has been announced and will release. The Wolverine release date has been announced and will be releasing September 15th. I don't have a news story for this one just because it doesn't really need a news story. This is just all of a sudden dropped on like Monday or Tuesday of this week, just randomly out of nowhere. Insomniac just announced on like social media, like, hey, the game's coming out September 15th. Get ready. And with not a trailer, it was just kind of more of like a blog post and like just a little teaser of just like the title and like the date, and that's it. So it was interesting. We got a state of play maybe two weeks ago. So I'm shocked that wasn't there instead, and this is just a random drop, but who knows what some people have said. Maybe this is to kind of cool down the hate from shutting down Bluepoint. I don't know. There's no true statement on whether that is true or not. Who knows? I'm not going to say whether I believe that or not, because I don't know. It could not be the reason, but it's just kind of random out of nowhere that they just dropped the release date with nothing else, not even a new trailer. Like, I would have definitely liked at least like a short little teaser trailer that isn't just the title and the date. That's it. So, but going away from that, the release date itself, September 15th, kind of says a lot. I think the first thing myself and most people kind of automatically go to this year when we get a new release date coming out in the fall is GTA. Obviously, GTA is releasing November 19th, and that is probably going to, and we already know this is going, a lot of developers and studios are really looking at that date and saying, hey, we need to avoid this at all costs. We need to avoid it like the plague, which is smart. That game is going to sell hotcakes. So I am shocked that it is September. I was for sure thinking Wolverine was going to be an October game. I was like slam dunk late October, get right before GTA, because I don't even think we're going to get any game releases early November. Like, I think people are just going to avoid November at all, even though GTA is coming out halfway into the month. But September definitely shocked me, in middle of September. So we're getting it earlier than I personally thought, which is awesome. I'm very much looking forward to Wolverine. I really do feel like because of GTA and avoiding November, I think September and October, while we only have about 2 dates so far, we've got, I believe at this moment, we have Wolverine September 15th, and then Phantom Blade Zero coming out, I believe the week before. So already a busy September, but you got to think we have even more coming out later this year that has not had a release date yet, but we know is coming out still. So Control Resonant, Gears E-Day, Fable, Halo, the remake of the first one, just so, and even more that I can't think about at the moment. Like, there's just so many games coming out. Blood of the Dawnwalker. There's so many games that we know are coming out this year that haven't gotten release dates yet, and they're definitely like September and October are going to be bloodbaths. Like, the amount of games we're going to get every weekend come out and like fight for your attention is going to be wild. It is going to be insane. As gamers, we're gonna be fed well, because we're gonna be getting a ton of bangers every single week to week for like 2 months straight. And then the month after that, we got GTA. So it's gonna be awesome for us, but at the same time, it's gonna be a lot of games. It's gonna be really rough to choose what to play and what not to play, what you want to play and what you can't, because you don't have the time because you're stuck playing something else. It's going to be very crazy. It's going to be hectic. A lot of games are going to release. We could even see some games sadly be delayed maybe, because it's going to be such a competitive 2 months leading up to November. So who knows? It's going to be wild. I mean, it's just so many games coming out this year that haven't had release dates yet. And really the only 2 months left that we know for these games, most likely these games are going to come out, are September or October. I can't see anything coming out early November. And then I definitely can't see anything coming out after November. So like late November or December, that is just going to be exclusively GTA. And like, I wouldn't be shocked if like Call of Duty releases their next game in like November around the time as GTA, because I just don't think they care. But it's going to be rough. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be good for us gamers, but at the same time, hectic and also not great, just for time management, I feel like. So yeah. Wolverine, September 15th. Super cool. Cannot wait. One of my most anticipated games of the year. Just so excited. I want to see more. Please, hopefully we'll see more at Summer Games Fest or because the next State of Play is probably going to be September, like it usually is. And so because of that, since that's going to be right before the release, I feel like we got to get like a dedicated State of Play like before. Who knows? Honestly, it's going to be wild. Maybe even August. We'll see. Alrighty, on to the next news story. This is kind of PlayStation related. It is pretty much, but that is God of War has casted the live action Baldur. So this is coming from the Hollywood James Hibbard over at the Hollywood Reporter. Ed Skrein cast as Baldur in Prime Video's God of War. Alrighty. So God of War has found its Baldur. Prime Video's big-budget adaptation of PlayStation's hit mythology-themed game has cast Jurassic World Rebirth star Ed Skrein as the show's major villain. Skrein will play opposite the previously announced Ryan Hurst from Sons of Anarchy, who plays the show's protagonist, the Spartan warrior Kratos. Skrein's credits also include Deadpool and Rebel Moon. Here's the official description of Skrein's character. Baldur may be the youngest son of Odin, but he's his father's most dangerous weapon. Charismatic, unpredictable, and armed with a razor-sharp tongue, Baldur lives by his own rules. As a boy, Baldur was cursed. This curse denied him the ability to feel pleasure and physical sensation. This fuels an insatiable anger and bloodlust in Baldur, who favors a brawling, fighting style that blends his immense power with the raw impact of his fists. Above all else, he longs for an opponent that can truly match his prowess in battle, an opponent that can finally make him feel something. Already, I think this is an awesome casting. I kind of talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago when we discussed the casting of Atreus. Every week now we've talked about a new God of War casting announcement, just because we're in that season right now where they are about to begin filming. They're currently at the end of casting, and finally, I believe this is like the last big role we're gonna get cast, and that is Ed Skrein as Baldur, the main villain of God of War 2018. This is a great casting. Ed Skrein, if you don't know, he's from Jurassic World Rebirth. He's also in he plays the main villain Ajax in Deadpool. I loved him in everything I've seen him in so far. Ed Skrein is a great actor, and he's especially good at playing a villain. And I think he's gonna kill it as Baldur. Baldur is such a cool villain. I loved him from God of War 2018. He's very scary, he's badass, he's menacing, he is powerful, and definitely puts up a fight to Kratos. And I think he's a really good villain, and I think Skrein is a great choice to play him. This is an awesome casting announcement. And yeah, that's really all. I just kind of want to talk about this. So very cool. Excited to see his take on Baldur. Hopefully with all the tattoos, hopefully with the beard and everything. I'm very excited to see it. I think this is a great casting. Alrighty, the next news story is going to be also God of War related. So we also got our first live action look at God of War. We got sort of a screenshot from Prime Video that just showed off Kratos and Atreus in the woods with Atreus holding a bow and arrow. I don't know if this is exactly going to be a scene from the show. I don't even know if they've began filming yet, but this most likely is just a screenshot. They're like, hey, we're going to take a screenshot. This isn't actually from a scene in the show. This is just, hey, stand here, do this, make it look like the game, and we're going to take the screenshot and post it everywhere so people can finally see. There's been a lot of sort of controversy surrounding this, just in terms of people's opinions on it. A lot of God of War fans have said that Kratos doesn't look great. I'm sort of in the middle on this one. I think, yes, I instantly saw this photo and I was like, oh, I don't really love the look of Kratos, but I don't hate it at the same time. I think it's hard to kind of have someone look like Kratos in the video games. That is a very big guy who doesn't, I feel like that's kind of hard to recreate just anyone really, other than Christopher Judge, to recreate that look in live action. But so that part I'm not too shocked with the look, even though I don't love it. I hope it can grow on me. I hope this show has a really good showrunner and has a lot of people behind it that are very talented and have made some great shows in the past. So my hope is that just the show being good can kind of make up for the look of Kratos. And I don't think they're gonna fix it. I don't think they have time to fix it. I don't know how they could fix this look. I just don't see how they can really fix the look of Kratos in live action. Personally, I have no clue, honestly. This isn't like a live action Sonic incident where you can change the look of him. I don't know if you can do that here without recasting, which I don't think they're gonna do. That would be a little too drastic. I think Atreus looks good. Again, kind of like with that, it's kind of hard to recreate the looks of the characters from the games, especially if the game character is based off one central person. It's kind of difficult to then recreate that with a different actor, just because everyone looks different. And as close as you can cast someone who looks similar to that person, it's still going to look different and look weird for some fans who especially love the games. And so that's why I just think it's gotten such a interesting reaction and kind of a negative reaction from people out there. It's just, I'm just going to leave it up to the show, and I hope the show wows me and blows me away, and I hope I love it. And I want to go into the show kind of not thinking, oh, I don't like the look of these characters, I don't like how they look, and instead just going, all right, this is a great show, and all that. So yeah, I just kind of want to bring this one up and talk about it. This is pretty big. This is going to be a big show when it comes out. I'm very excited for it. Again, I think the screenshot itself looks good. I'm just looking forward to the show, personally. But yeah, that is going to be all about the God of War. And finally, we're moving on from PlayStation news for now. I will be honest, we do have a little bit more PlayStation related to talk about, but that is going to be towards the end of this video. Alrighty, the next story. Pokemon Winds and Waves has been announced. This is coming from Jordan Midler over at VGC. Pokemon Winds and Waves revealed. New game coming in 2027 for Nintendo Switch 2. Alrighty. Pokemon Winds and Waves have been announced, and they're coming to Nintendo Switch 2 in 2027. Announced during a Pokemon Presents live stream on Friday the 10th. The 10th generation, not the 10th. So on Friday, the 10th generation Pokemon games were revealed via a teaser trailer, which is embedded below. In the trailer for the new generation, the unnamed new region was shown, as was the new starter Pokemon. Brout, Palmbom, and Gekwa make up the new trio. Quote, trainers will play as the main character of this adventure, where they will have a different outfit depending on the version they are playing, the Pokemon Company said. The trailer also revealed the 3 starter Pokemon set to feature in Winds and Waves. Brout, the grass starter, is a bean chick Pokemon. Palmbom, the fire starter, is a puppy Pokemon. Finally, Gekwa, the water starter, is a water gecko Pokemon. Other Pokemon featured in the new trailer include Pikachu, Wowlord, Gloom, Tropius, Tangela, Oddish, Slugma, Krabby, Duskull, and more. 2 new Pikachu variants, Miss Wavychew and Mr. Windychew, were also shown as part of the presentation. Part of the trailer included a sweeping shot through an underwater environment and focused on water Pokemon, suggesting that water exploration may take a deeper role in Winds and Waves. Alrighty, I honestly can't think of a moment where I have really talked about Pokemon on this channel. I'm not the biggest, I don't know much about Pokemon, I'll be honest, but I do like Pokemon. It's a franchise that I honestly want to learn more about. I want to get into it. That's kind of something I've really been itching to kind of get more into Pokemon. Whether it is the show, the original cartoons, or the cards, or the games, and just really all in general. I just would love to get more into Pokemon and learn more about it. And I think Winds and Waves could be a good introduction for me. I didn't wake up early for the Nintendo, the Pokemon showcase, which was like very early in the morning, at least in my time zone where I am. But I did kind of watch it after, and I was like, wow, this looks great. The new game looks fantastic. Winds and Waves, these games look so good. The open world looks beautiful. It's sort of this jungle island setting, which I don't think we've seen much in Pokemon, I'll be honest. I personally don't know, don't quote me on that, but it looks something at least new to me and what I know, what I've seen from Pokemon. In terms of the 3 new starter Pokemons, which is a big thing, if I were to choose one, it would definitely be Palmbom. I mean, I love Palmbom already. I already feel like I feel an attachment with Palmbom. I'm like, that's a definite easy choice for me. I think Brout looks awesome and Gekwa also looks great, but come on, how could you not choose Palmbom? It's just so cute. It's a little dog. But yeah, I think this looks awesome. Sort of also a big focus on underwater and kind of being able to free roam underwater and explore. That is going to be super cool. Game Freak has really been killing it with making these Pokemon games like fully open world. It's been pretty cool, and just kind of all the craziness in this game actually looks finally like a Pokemon game on Nintendo Switch 2 should look. It looks good. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see for the full game release and if there are any performance issues or any of that, but it really does look like it's utilizing the Switch 2 hardware, and it looks really good for I was shocked watching the trailer. I was like, whoa, this is really good for a Pokemon game. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk about this here because I don't talk about Pokemon, I feel like, enough on this channel, and I am definitely looking forward to this game, even though it is coming out a full year away. So yeah, excited to see more of Winds and Waves. Pretty cool. Alrighty, time for the next news story. Zach Cregger has been given carte blanche on his Resident Evil movie. This is coming from Tom Phillips over at IGN. Weapons director Zach Cregger given carte blanche to do whatever with Resident Evil, creating a movie not expected to feature any familiar story or characters. Zach Cregger, director of Weapons and Barbarian, was given complete carte blanche to do whatever he wanted with the Resident Evil franchise. Cregger's upcoming Resident Evil movie adaptation is not expected to feature any familiar characters or adapt any specific Resident Evil game, a departure from the series' previous big screen adaptations that have featured famous faces such as Leon S. Kennedy and Chris Redfield, and repeatedly retold the various games' plots. Alrighty. Now Resident Evil is being rebooted again with Cregger on board and given the green light to go in a very different direction. With Resident Evil, we have had an incredible journey with one of the most successful international IPs of more than $1 billion in box office for many years, Oliver Bourbon of production company Constantine Film told Deadline. Now we are creating something new, not just a new story idea, but to allow a new generation to take the IP into their own hands and form something different. This is I'm a little torn on this one, I guess, and I wish I had my co-host Jason to talk about it with me. Just because I love Resident Evil, it's one of my favorite gaming franchises, but he is like the biggest Resident Evil fan I know, and I know he's very into this, and I know has a lot of words to say about this new story, especially. But in terms of my thoughts, I'm very mixed on it. In one hand, I think it's totally great that he is going to make his own thing. I like when people can kind of take these video game universes and be, follow the rules and follow that stuff and be respectful to the game and not just throw it out of the window like the Halo TV show and other stuff. And instead kind of pay respect to the games while also making a new story and having something different, because we've seen the stories before in the games, so why not get something new? But at the same time, totally just disregarding everything from the characters to some of the storylines and all that stuff really kind of rubs me the wrong way. Obviously, I'm very excited for this film. When I made my video a few weeks ago on one of my most anticipated movies for this year, this was number one. This is easily my most anticipated film of the year. I cannot wait for Resident Evil from Zach Cregger. I love Zach Cregger, loved Weapons, loved Barbarian, and so obviously I know I have a good feeling this movie's gonna be really good and he's gonna knock it out of the park, because he has with all of his other horror movies. But I think maybe the Resident Evil fan of me might maybe not like it as much, because if it is we'll really see. We don't know much about the story. We don't really know much in general. I believe they've already wrapped filming, but again, we know very little about this film. I'm excited to see a trailer to kind of see what this is going to be about. If it is, I think we know it's Raccoon City, which will be interesting to kind of have Raccoon City, but no mention of Jill or Chris, or actually Chris is not Raccoon, but Jill or Leon or Ada, or if they're gonna do Umbrella, I would hope you would hope that Umbrella is gonna be a big part of it. Nemesis, Tyrants, all that stuff. Who knows really what's gonna be in this film? I hope we can at least get some of those stuff. Like we can see a Licker, or we get a Tyrant, or we get Nemesis, or Mr. X, or Leon, or Ada, or Jill, or Carlos, or anyone. But I don't think we're really gonna see any of that, at least from the way they've talked about it right now, which I think is a little disappointing. Look, if I were personally deciding on making a Resident Evil movie, I would want it to be based off of like the first game and the second game, and kind of keep adapting the games, because I love the games so much and I think the stories are awesome, and I think it'd be cool to see them live action. But we're not getting that with this, obviously, and we've known that. We knew Zach Cregger had said he wanted to do something different and have different new original characters. So it'll be interesting. I've got faith in Zach Cregger. I think he's going to make a great movie, and I think in general this is going to be a really good film. But it's just, who knows the Resident Evil of it all. Is it going to be a good Resident Evil film, or is it going to be just a good movie? I hope it's both, honestly. But this still is, even with this report, this is still my most anticipated movie of the year, and it's not going to change at all. Unless the trailer that comes out hopefully soon is like god awful. which I don't think it's going to be. Alrighty, on to the next news story. This is a bit of a sad one. Amazon has dropped funding for Maverick Games' upcoming game. This is coming from Luke Riley over at IGN. Amazon backs out of publishing open-world driving game from ex-Forza Horizon developers. Amazon will no longer publish UK developer Maverick Games' yet-to-be-titled open-world driving game, reports the game business. Quote, as part of our strategic evolution to focus on projects that leverage Amazon's unique strengths and scale, including the recent relaunch of Luna and our Tomb Raider franchise partnership with Crystal Dynamics, we have decided to release Maverick Games from their publishing agreement with Amazon Game Studios, the company explained in a provided statement. Quote, we have tremendous respect for the Maverick Games team and the compelling narrative-led driving experience they're creating. This decision allows Maverick Games the flexibility to find a publishing partner whose strategic priorities are better aligned with bringing their game to market. We're proud of what we accomplished together during our partnership and wish them every success in the future. Fortunately, this does not mean the end of the road for the project itself, with Maverick Games co-founder Mike Brown confirming on social media that development is continuing to progress strongly and plans are in place to share information about the game later this year. Maverick Games was founded in 2022 following the departure of a number of staff from Forza Horizon developer Playground Games. At that time, former Forza Horizon 5 creative director Mike Brown was joined by producer Tom Butcher, technical director Matt Craven, technical art director Gareth Harwood, and audio director Fraser Stachin, and art director Ben Penrose. It was revealed in January 2023 that the team was working on a premium open-world game for consoles and PC. Amazon's partnership with Maverick on this narrative-led open-world driving game project was unveiled in mid-2024. Alrighty, this is probably the news story, I will be honest, I was most excited to talk about today, and that's just because I am a big, if you don't know, I love Forza Horizon. It's one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and Horizon 6 is one of my most anticipated games of the year, or really ever. And so this was definitely a project I was really looking forward to. Really any studio that kind of wants to make a game similar to Forza, since we just don't have a lot of open world driving games out there. The only other one I can think of is Need for Speed, and there's a high chance that Need for Speed, at least for now, is a dead franchise, which sucks to say. But it's like, right now the only open world driving game I can think of is Forza. Gran Turismo is not open world, and I can't think of any other franchise like Assetto Corsa and all these more sim-focused games. They're not open world either, even though I believe Assetto Corsa Evo, they're working on an open world mode, which is pretty cool. But I'm more so talking sort of AAA open world driving games. It's really just Forza. Forza's sort of in a league of its own right now, and obviously it is the best as we've seen. They are very good at making open world driving games. But I've always kind of wanted competition. I've wanted something new from a new developer, or someone to come in and say, hey, we're going to kind of challenge Forza Horizon, even though they are this juggernaut, and make some competition, because the competition always just makes everything better. And so I'm definitely looking forward to this game. This is one I'm like really interested in because it is from people that worked on Forza games, Horizon games in the past. Mike Brown, who was the creative director of Forza Horizon 5. If you don't remember, he was the one who was kind of at the Xbox showcase where they revealed Forza Horizon 5 in 2021. He was the one kind of talking about it after and discussing it, and he's been very vocal about all that stuff. And I've always liked Mike Brown. He's always been a cool guy to watch in videos, and I've always respected him as a developer. And so when he announced he was leaving, I'm like, oh man, that sucks to see. But when he announced, hey, I'm making a new studio with a bunch of other people that worked on these games called Maverick Games, and we're working on an open world game, I instantly knew, oh, that's gotta be an open world racing game. Like 100%. He talked about how he loves making Forza, but he sort of wants to go on to make something new and interesting, and is getting tired of working on Forza games every year, which makes sense, and that's totally fair. And for them to kind of be taking sort of maybe the dynamic of Forza Horizon, which is so tried and true and proven good and amazing, and kind of make it more narrative-led, which is an issue myself and so many people have had with the Horizon series. While it is amazing and one of the best racing game series ever, the one issue a lot of people have is it's just not narrative enough. There's really no narrative part of Forza Horizon, and the only narrative part of it are some of these stories and stuff they have in each game, and most of the writing can be a little cringy and annoying, and the joke is that everyone always turns the dialogue off as soon as the game starts. I personally don't do that, but a lot of people do, and that is totally fair. The dialogue is not the best and is always pretty cringy and corny in the Horizon games. So in terms of when I heard that when they announced in 2024 that they were making a narrative-led open-world driving game, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. We are getting ex-Forza developers who know what they're doing. They're making an open-world driving game to finally compete with Forza, and it's going to be narrative-led. Like, talk about like a dream game, for me at least. And so I've very much been following Maverick Games. They had a publishing deal with Amazon, like we talked about, which was great, getting the money, but with Amazon closing a lot of their studios and getting rid of a lot of their publishing partners and a lot of stuff like we've seen, sadly this was the next one to go, and it really does suck. It's totally devastating that they have lost this publishing partner. I think the positive part is that they are still working on the game. This isn't going to stop the game. It may delay it a little bit since they are now at the moment looking for someone to publish it. It's not going, the game will hopefully not be canceled. I don't think it will. They seem to be pretty confident on a sort of first look at it later this year, which I'm very excited for. They did provide a screenshot on it on Twitter. Mike Brown had kind of came out and said, hey, people are sending me condolences. Don't worry, this game is still in development. Nothing's stopping, nothing's being affected other than we're just looking for a new publishing partner, that's all. And he kind of put with that a screenshot of the game, which is like a look at like the game, like a part of the map with like 2 Porsches. And it looks great. If you haven't seen the screenshot yet, definitely go to like Mike Brown's Twitter and check it out. It's a really cool looking screenshot with car models that look fantastic. The graphics look great. I don't know if this is Unreal Engine 5 or not. Honestly, I have no clue, but if it is, I think it is, and it looks really, really good. So excited to see sort of an open world driving game competitor to Forza Horizon on Unreal Engine, since Horizon is on its own engine that Playground Games has made in-house. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing a Horizon clone, not a clone, but a Horizon competitor on a different engine, especially Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, I'm just really happy that they are still developing it. They're still working on it. Hopefully, who knows who? I think that's a fun question, is who could be the next publishing partner. Obviously, they're looking for someone. Probably won't be Xbox, since Xbox is saying, hey, we already have Forza, we don't need this as well. Honestly, I would love to see, even though they just closed down a studio, I would love to see PlayStation kind of be the publishing partner and help publish this game, even though that would probably mean it would be a console exclusive, which would suck for some players. I think PlayStation could use an open world driving game. They only really had Need for Speed, which was also on Xbox and PC, and Need for Speed is probably dead, at least for now, which sucks. And so, and Gran Turismo, Sony's big racing game franchise, is not open world. So I wouldn't really call it a big competitor with Forza Horizon, as it's kind of a very different game. It's more of a Forza Motorsport competitor, and Forza Motorsport is kind of dead as well. So I think Sony definitely needs an open world driving game, since how much money Forza made on, like, Forza was one of the highest, FH5 was one of the highest selling games on PlayStation last year, and it was just, that's like a 5-year-old game that was just ported to PlayStation very late after it had already come out, and is one of the highest selling games of last year on the console, which is absolutely wild. And so obviously that's got to say something to Sony. That's got to show, hey, people are in demand for an open world racing game, especially one like Forza Horizon. And now you have a studio that is looking for a publishing partner that worked on Horizon 5, including the creative director for the game, and now they're making sort of a spiritual successor competitor to it, which is more narrative-led, which is a big issue a lot of people have had with Forza Horizon 5 and just all the Horizon games. I feel like that's a slam dunk to pick that up. I would be shocked if Sony is not the next publishing partner for Maverick Games' next game. Like, I'm saying this, if anyone from Sony, which I doubt it, but if anyone from Sony is watching this, please publish this game. I'm telling you, this game I hope is gonna be good. I'm counting on it. I feel like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be cool. We've seen a lot of these games that try to come out as, hey, we're a Horizon competitor, and they kind of fall flat, like we saw with sadly what we saw with the recent Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, which was a game I was looking forward to, but didn't even decide to pick it up at launch after the very negative reviews and just didn't look good. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I just think it's great that this game is still happening. It's not being canceled, at least for now. It's not. I hope it doesn't. And I'm excited to finally see more of it later this year. So yeah, that's awesome. Super cool news stories. Sad, but also positive and good news story. So yeah, alrighty. But now, though, we must talk about something sad and disappointing. I feel like every week we talk at least once about layoffs, since it is just such a reoccurring thing, sadly, in the games industry as of late, and it is not stopping. And so this week, EA has announced layoffs at Skate developer Full Circle. This is coming from Michael Kripe over at IGN. Skate developer Full Circle hit with layoffs as EA looks to better support the long-term future of the game. Skate developer Full Circle has announced layoffs affecting an undisclosed number of staff as it aims to better support the long-term future of its free-to-play title. Publisher EA revealed its reshaping plans with a blog post on the studio's website. No detailed information about the number of affected employees or their roles was given, with the message only stating that making changes to our team structure means that some roles will be impacted. The teammates affected are talented colleagues and friends who helped build the foundation of Skate, Full Circle said. Their creativity and dedication are deeply ingrained with what players experience today. This decision is not a reflection of their impact, and we're committed to supporting them through this transition. The post mentions that tens of millions of players have played the free-to-play Skate reboot since it launched as an early access title for PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S, September 2025. Today's restructuring is said to better support Skate's long-term future and focus the team on the things that matter most to you. EA and Full Circle sign off by assuring fans that they will work with the community as they move faster, listen more closely, and deliver consistently as development on Skate continues. This is a pretty disappointing one. Skate, releasing last year in September, is a game I actually enjoyed. I really did like it. I can't remember if I had it. I don't know if I had it on my top 10 list of games from last year. I honestly cannot remember. But actually, I didn't do a top 10 games list. I did a top 2, so never mind on that one. But I did really like Skate. This is a game I had a lot of fun with. I've talked about that Skate 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Skate franchise. It is my go-to franchise for skateboarding games personally. And so I was really looking forward to a new Skate game from EA. This is one, like many fans, I have been asking for so long because I love this franchise so much. And so to finally get one from people who are passionate about the franchise was super cool. And yes, I do think the game is fun and I have enjoyed it, but I can see the issues with it, I can see the problems with it, and I don't think they handled it the best way, in my opinion. I think there are a lot of issues I do have with the game, from the art style. I wish it was a little more realistic like the rest of the Skate games. I wish they kind of still followed I wish they didn't go with this Fortnite looking art style. That's the least of my issues with the game. That is one that also I can't agree with why people don't like it. I think some of my bigger issues just come from replayability. There's not much to do. When I play Skate, which I play kind of often, I don't go around and do the missions. I just go around and free skate. When I'm bored and I've got nothing to do and maybe I want to listen to a podcast or YouTube video, I'm going to put on Skate and just skate in the background while listening to something. Do some tricks, listen to some music, all that. Because I love the feeling of this game. This game feels fantastic, and that's why I keep going back to it. It feels great to skate around in this game. But that's about it that I like from it. I don't love the map. I think it's too small. It's kind of boring. you can talk about microtransactions being annoying, even though it is a free-to-play game. They just announced recently a lot of controversy behind it that for the next season, Season 2, they're releasing a new map expansion, but you have to pay money for it, and it's like a whole rental system. It's really dumb. It's super convoluted. They had said before the game came out they weren't going to charge any money for maps, and now they are, which really does suck, and that's annoying, and I don't know why they're doing that. Seems like an EA decision to me, at least. But they're in a lot of hot fire for that, so that makes sense. That really does suck. And now they're laying off people, which sucks. I hope that every single person that has been laid off, I hope they can land on their feet and hopefully get a new job as soon as possible and be supported and all that stuff, because layoffs just suck and they are the worst. And I wish there weren't layoffs in the industry. It just is the worst thing to talk about on this channel, in my opinion. Even as sad as other news things can be, I think the saddest thing is always just layoffs. Layoffs suck. So to all the developers who were laid off, I hope you can land on your feet. I hope you can get a job, hopefully in games industry as soon as possible. And I am very sorry. That definitely sucks. In terms of the game itself, who knows if it's going to survive the end of the year. Honestly, I could see it being shut down, and that just is the sad thing to say. But with it losing player count day by day and people getting angry about certain decisions that EA and Full Circle have been making with the game, who knows about the survivability for much longer, and that really does suck to say. But yeah, so pretty sad news story. Don't have much else to say other than that really does suck. Alrighty, on to the next news story. Sony tried to get Crimson Desert and as an exclusive, but developers said no. This is coming from Paul Tassi over at Forbes. Sony tried to lock up Crimson Desert as a timed PlayStation exclusive. Crimson Desert is shaping up to be one of the most interesting games of the year, a sprawling open world that seems to be saying all the right things and showing off impressive gameplay footage. But it might have been something that PlayStation could have called its own, for a while anyway. According to a translation of a resurfaced Pearl Abyss investor relations report, the studio said it was approached by Sony with the pitch that Sony would pay to make PlayStation its publisher and in turn lock up an exclusive deal that would launch on PlayStation and avoid Xbox for an entire year. The PC distribution rights would also have been Sony's. Pearl Abyss said no. Rather, despite considering the offer, it decided to self-publish. They noted that this was different from Shift Up's similar deal with Stellar Blade, but the studio didn't have a publishing team ready to go. Such a deal would mean a large chunk of revenue, in addition to platform fees, would go to Sony as the publisher, something Pearl Abyss wanted to avoid. This is a pretty cool one, I think. Sony going to, again, Sony, they're going to other studios to publish the game like they did with Stellar Blade and like they try to do with Crimson Desert. Do it for Maverick Games, please. Please, Maverick Games. It's the last time I'm going to talk about that for now. But in terms of Crimson Desert, again, this game, talked about it a lot on the channel. This is the biggest game of this month of March by far. This game is going to be massive, and I hope it's going to be good. I think this game is going to be great. Could even be Game of the Year worthy, honestly, with the way people are talking about it. And so you can tell this also adds a lot of hype to it. Sony seeing this game and saying, hey, we want to publish this game, we want it to be an exclusive for at least a year, says a lot about this game. Could be awesome and could be great. And could really sort of live up to the lofty expectations. And I think Pearl Abyss kind of putting their foot down and saying no is really interesting and good for them, honestly. Well, I'm not saying that Sony publishing a game is a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think we've seen a lot of games Sony has published that have been great. Stellar Blade, for example. But them kind of saying, hey, no, we want to self-publish the game ourselves and have it come to all consoles, so PlayStation, Xbox, and PC day one is great for just consumers in general. And just gamers out there, whether you're on PlayStation or PC or Xbox. So this is super cool, good for Pearl Abyss for kind of staying by it and sort of having faith in their own game. Sort of knowing that this game is probably going to do really well. They're going to sell a lot of copies, make a lot of money from this game, and they don't need another person to publish the game and kind of steal revenue from them. So yeah, good for Pearl Abyss, and that's awesome. I think it just kind of gives this game even more lofty expectations of, oh yeah, this game, people know this game's going to be good. So Hope it is good. Excited to play it. Excited for a few weeks from now to get into this game and see reviews and what other people think of it. But yeah, we'll definitely be having a lot of videos on the channel, kind of like Resident Evil coming this week, and I'm talking about my review of Crimson Desert, giving spoiler-free reviews, giving spoiler reviews later on, and all that stuff. Alrighty. That is going to be the final news story for today, but I have two more things I want to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is my thoughts on the Marathon Server Slam. So this weekend, on Thursday at like 10 a.m., at least Pacific time, Bungie released the Marathon Server Slam, which is going for this weekend only from Thursday to Monday. So tomorrow is your last day to play it, and basically allows people to go and play Marathon early. Kind of try it out for the weekend. Most of the content at launch is there, excluding maybe 2 maps that are coming at launch instead, and like 1 or 2 of the runners, which are like the different character classes you can choose, like different characters you can choose. So I played a few rounds before Resident Evil came out. That was kind of what my day consisted of on Thursday, was playing Marathon throughout the day, and then at 9 o'clock switching to Resident Evil. But I have thoughts on it. I'm not gonna say too much because I don't love extraction shooters. It's not a genre I'm into. I've said this many times on the channel. I just don't love live service games that much. I'm not a big multiplayer guy. I'm more of a single player person. And so while I kind of knew going into it Marathon wasn't gonna speak to me, I didn't love it, and that's just because it's not really a knock on the game, more so just not my kind of game. I tried it. I'm glad I tried it. It was cool. I think my biggest positive on the game is the art direction and just the vibes of the game. I think the art direction looks cool. The world that they've created, from the music in the menu to the look of the maps and the look of the characters and the look of the designs and everything. While there is controversy with it, with them stealing from an artist and them paying them, hey, they paid the guy, all that stuff, so it's all good now. Yeah, I think that's like my biggest positive. It just the art direction definitely hooked me and like was like, whoa, this is so cool. But other than that, I'm not a big extraction shooter person, and this has kind of really solidified that, as I don't like extraction shooters. I don't really know what to do. I wish I had more of an objective, and other than just go around, find some loot, and then try to extract. I'm not great at the game either. I dropped a significant amount of kills, but I was most of the time just playing by myself, and most of the time I would just get destroyed by a squad of 3 while I'm by myself, and I'd lose all my stuff. So that was kind of most of my experience. Though I thought it looked cool. The gunplay feels great. It's a Bungie game. Bungie knows what they're doing with gunplay. It feels good. In terms of, I think, the bigger question of the survivability of this game. How is this game going to perform this upcoming weekend when it launches? Is it going to survive? Is it going to go the way of High Guard and Concord, or is it going to go the way of Arc Raiders? I honestly don't know. It's kind of a toss-up this day with these games and whether they will do good or not. I think the high player count for the Server Slam definitely could say, hey, this game is going to perform well. It's going to review hopefully positive, I would say. We'll see this upcoming weekend. And in terms of player count, I think it's going to start big. I think it will definitely decrease after a weekend, but I don't think it's going to decrease as much as like Concord or High Guard. I don't think this game is going to be shut down after a month or 2. And I think I honestly am more hopeful for this game than I was with High Guard or Concord. So who knows? It's going to be a toss-up. We will see next weekend, and probably will report on it. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts on the Marathon Server Slam. All right, final thing I want to talk about, and that is the review roundup. Every week that a new game releases, I do a little review roundup where I kind of talk about the review scores for the game and maybe read some quick review blurbs and kind of talk about it, whether I've played it or whether I want to play it. And the one big game that released this weekend was Resident Evil Requiem, possibly one of the biggest games of the year, one of my most anticipated games of the year. I love Resident Evil and very excited to talk about it. I've been so excited for this game, so unbelievably excited, and finally came out, and the reviews are fantastic. Currently on OpenCritic, it is sitting at an 89, and on Metacritic, it is sitting at an 88. So great so close to being a 90, which honestly is pretty rare for games, and even an 89 and an 88 is amazing. That is fantastic. That is so good. I think people are like, oh, this should have been a 90, it's not good. An 88 and an 89 is still fantastic and amazing. So congrats to Capcom for that. I don't want to give my thoughts on Resident Evil just yet. I want to wait for my spoiler-free video on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that if you want to hear my thoughts on the game. But in terms of other people's thoughts, Tristan Ogilvy on IGN gave it a 9 out of 10 and said, like the result of an experiment conducted in an underground Umbrella Corporation lab, Resident Evil Requiem successfully splices 2 separate strains of survival horror together into one highly infectious new mutation. Matt Wales at Eurogamer gave it a 5 out of 5 and said Capcom marks the Resident Evil's 30th anniversary with a stellar return that's both a masterful bit of suffocating horror and a nostalgic, fan-thrilling victory lap for the legendary series. And then Wesley LeBlanc over at Game Informer gave it a 9.8 out of 10 and said, and now, with its secrets exposed to me and its mazes awaiting my mastery of them, Requiem is also the name of my favorite Resident Evil game. Yeah, I generally, I can't find any true negative reviews. It's, difficult to find something that is lower than a 9 out of 10 or, a 4 out of 5. I've seen some 8 out of 10s, but even those are, very positive on the game. Mainly the big cons people have of the game is just kind of some parts of the game can feel very different from other parts in a negative way for some reviewers, and some people just don't love some parts of the story. I don't know. I've been trying to search for negativities in people's reviews, but I just can't find much, to be honest, other than small cons that are people just kind of have their own wits and issues with the game. But yeah, this is now the highest reviewed game of the year, or one of the. I believe there's maybe one other game that has an 89, and that is Mutagenics. So this is currently the highest reviewed game of the year, which is awesome. We will wait to see if any game crosses 90, or if, since it is just one score away from being a 90, maybe this could finally, if one other person gives a great positive review, this could move up into the 90 range, which would be great and awesome. I'm very excited to talk about it on Tuesday. So yeah, that is going to be all for today. Again, stay tuned this week for a lot of Resident Evil. This Tuesday, I'm going to be giving a spoiler-free review on Requiem. Like I've said earlier in this video, I have already finished the game. I finished it last night. I'm just going to say this now. I had it took me about 14 hours, at least that's what the game told me. It took a little more than 14 hours to finish the game, which I did take my sweet time on. Just going to say now, my co-host Jason, who will not be here for the spoiler-free review on Tuesday, he finished the game in about 8 hours and also has his own thoughts, since he is an even bigger Resident Evil fan than I am. And so looking forward to that. That is going to be this next Sunday. We are going to kind of be putting out 2 videos this Sunday. A news video, probably be a shorter one. We'll be a little more selective on what news stories we talk about. Instead of talking about everything, we're going to kind of do more of the bigger ones and kind of stick to that, as we will be uploading a second video on Sunday going over our spoiler talk on Resident Evil Requiem. We're going to talk about everything from the ending of the game to the second half that has not been talked about much by Capcom, to character reveals and cool moments and just fun moments and twists and turns and stuff, and different moments in the story and gameplay that we want to talk about that kind of is spoilers and that I don't want to talk about on Tuesday, and I kind of want to discuss with Jason our thoughts on the game, spoiler-free and spoiler-filled, and you will get his thoughts on the game in general on next Sunday as well. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, this Tuesday, my spoiler-free review. So if you haven't played the game yet and you want to play it, or you haven't finished it yet and you don't want to see any spoilers, you're in luck. This Tuesday, no spoilers at all in my review. Just going to be giving my cons and my pros of the game, and my review out of 10 of the game and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. It's probably going to be a long one because I have a lot to say about the game. I'm looking forward to going to a second playthrough tonight, if that says anything about my thoughts on it, and I'm probably going to be playing this game for a long time. And then on Thursday, if I do have time to get a video up, I really want to do sort of a ranking of all the mainline Resident Evil games. So I have played at least a little bit. There are some mainline Resident Evil games that I haven't finished, but I've at least played at least 3 hours of. Like, for example, Resident Evil 1, the whole remake, remaster that came out long time ago, and Resident Evil 5 are 2 games of the franchise I have not finished. I have a few hours in each of them, but so I will still be ranking them, but every other game, so 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, Village, and Requiem are all games I have played through, and I am looking forward to talking about and ranking. So stay tuned for that rank list of all the Resident Evil games on Thursday, hopefully, including Requiem. But yeah, that is going to be all for today's video. If you have any comments on any of the news stories, please put it down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for upcoming videos that I can put on Tuesday and Thursday, also in the comments below. And if I missed any news stories that you want to talk about, also in the comments. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. And that's going to be all. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.